Chapter 1 of Tanya opens up in an interesting space. The question is, where should we open up? What should be the first thing? This is the beginning of the whole Hasidus. What should be the first thing you want to know in Hasidic theology? I would think should be about Bitachon and Hashem and Emunah, etc., etc. The place where the Baal Tanya chose to begin is labels. Labels. Who are you and what are you about? Let's label you. Because the problem begins with incorrect labeling, incorrect expectations, not understanding and appreciating who you are and who you're supposed to be. So the first thing he opens up with is, we like to say that my son is a tzaddik, and you should grow up to be a gadol. There's zero virtue in that. Tanya, we learn in a brisa. Besoif Perek Gimel de Nida, at the end of chapter 3 of Nida. So there it says, Mashbi Moisaiti Tzadik Valti Rasha. They make you take an oath. And the oath is that this is before baby's born. You should be a tzaddik and not be a rasha. Now, we translate typically tzaddik as righteous and rasha as wicked, evil. So they tell you, very nice, be a tzaddik and don't be a rasha. That's good. That's nice. They should be a tzaddik. Okay. Then they say, Vafilu kol olam kuloi oimrim lecho tzaddik oto. Even if the entire world tells you you're a tzaddik, you should say, nope, you should regard yourself as a rasha, a wicked person. Now that's tough. So you need to understand. First of all, it's contradicted by an explicit Mishnah. Dot nan Ovis Perek Beis. What does it say in the Mishnah in Ovis? Al ti rasha b'fnei atzmacha. You should never be a rasha b'fnei atzmacha, inside you. Never regard yourself as a rasha. So to consider yourself wicked is wrong. You see the contradiction? So now we have a brisa in Nida. The brisa there says you should regard yourself as a rasha. Even if everyone says you're a tzaddik, no, I'm a rasha. Like a rasha. But the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says you're not allowed to consider yourself a rasha. How do you reconcile the two? And it's not just a technical problem that one Mishnah says this and one brisa says that. It makes no sense. What's going to happen to a person who says, I'm a rasha? You'll be sad and you'll feel down. You will not be able to serve Hashem with rejoicing, with a glad heart. So hard. If you don't feel some kind of self-worth, so then you won't be able to be happy. Yeah, I mean, if you keep on saying, I'm bad, I'm evil, I'm wicked, I'm not good, I'm not good, so then that's depressing. How are you supposed to be happy? Happiness, joy, stems from feeling good about yourself. So why are you telling me I should regard myself as a rasha? No virtue. So what are you going to say? I'm not going to get down from it. If you don't feel down, what's going to happen? You'll become frivolous. I'm thinking of a good friend I know who has made it, his mission to always self-deprecate. Always puts himself down. He's like, I can never come to anything on time. I can never get anything done. I'm not good. I'm whatever. Lovely guy. Very successful guy also. But all the time putting himself down. And what happens is, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Literally, you see him all the time living up to it. You can't get anything done right, so you can't get anything done right. I mean, in this area. He laughs at himself. He made it okay. But if you do that, what did you just do? Well, if you feel that you are a rasha, then you'll feel sad, why am I a rasha? And if you're okay with being a rasha, then you become frivolous. So what does it mean? Frivolous? Frivolity. So how do you reconcile the two? And why is it even a virtue to regard yourself as a Kirasha? Right? Now I'm going to tell you the answer now already, even though it's going to come up much later in all the chapters. I'm going to give you the direction that we're going so you understand. He's still going to build a lot of questions over here. What he's going to build up to for us is an understanding. That's going to be the difference in chapter 13 between Rasha and Ki Rasha. There it says, Hayei beinecha ke Rasha. In Pirkei Avos it says, Al tehi Rasha b'fnei atzmecha. A Rasha you can't be. A Ki Rasha is very virtuous. In fact, if you don't consider yourself a Ki Rasha, it's dangerous stuff. Why? Because it's pretty important for every one of us to appreciate that to struggle is okay. The problem is we're translating Rasha as wicked. It's not wicked. It's prone to bad. Are you prone to do bad things?
We all are.
Yeah. The moment you realize you're prone to do bad things, that's your moment of success. So don't be a Rasha, but regard yourself as a Ki Rasha. A Ki Rasha is going to be known as a Beinani. The hero of the Tanya is the Beinani. But let's develop a question further. The Gemara describes 5 divisions. Tzadik v'toivle, tzadik v'ralei. Rasha v'toivle, rasha v'ralei, uveinani. You probably heard those before. What's a tzadik v'toivle? We generally say, what's tzadik v'toivle? A tzadik who is experiencing good things in life. What's tzadik v'ralei?
Tzaddik who experiences bad.
A tzadik who's struggling and suffering in life. Right. And what's a rasha v'toivle?
It seems like he has a good life.
A bad guy with a good life. What's a rasha v'ralei? Good, that's nice.
Yeah.
Bad guy, bad life.
We can handle that.
What's a beinani? Everybody else. But the Gemara doesn't agree with that pshat. The Gemara in Bracha says, Tzadik v'toivloi, Tzadik gamor. Tzadik v'raloi, Tzadik she'einoi gamor. Are you a Tzadik gamor or not? That's the question.
How come we never learned this? Yeah, that question came up a few times.
It's in the Gemara and it's always been there.
Yeah.
Tzadik v'toivloi, a Tzadik, not and good things happen to him. Essentially, here's where we're going. There's what you do, there's your actions. But beyond your actions, there's what you are. The question we want to deal with is what's happening inside your soul, inside your psyche. I want to know what's really going on inside you. So, Tzadik v'toivloi is a tzaddik that has conquered his inside being. There is no evil over there. It's all good at this point. That's a special tzaddik. Tzaddik v'raloi still has some negativity inside him. Now, I'm going to give an example. In Eretz Yisrael, right? Is Eretz Yisrael today a viable state? Is it like a country you can live in? Yeah, it is, right? But the neighbors,
Not that much.
they're not really fun neighbors. They're very challenging neighbors, right? Some. I mean, the average neighbor in Israel wants you dead. Just a question of whether he can activate it right now or not. But he wants you dead, right? So you need to be very mindful of the neighbors. If you live in New Jersey, so New Jersey, you cross the tunnel, maybe you got to pay congestion, but it's New York. There's no issues over there. It's a safe border to cross, right? If New York decided to attack New Jersey, they'll wipe it out in 2 seconds because there's no protection, right? So in Israel, if you have the border between one of those nearby countries, all of them, and you open the border, because you say we're safe, you're finito, right? So I'm going to create a very viable country in my space, but I have to be extremely mindful of the neighbors. The neighbors are murderers. What would happen to Israel if it stops being mindful of the neighbors?
That would be a strike.
October 7 happens. That's what happens. They're trying to do that all the time, every moment. That's what they're trying to do. It's just a technical question. When did they get to do that? Now, you need to look at yourself and your inner being in the same terms. I have two beings inside me. That's going to be the Mahalach. One part of me, godly part. Godly part, but there's a neighbor. Who's the neighbor? The animal.
But it's not evil.
Animals aren't evil. They're just animals. They're just animals. If you tame them, in this case, if you tame your animal, you get great results.
So a real tzaddik still has the animal part? They just worked on it already?
Correct. Essentially what it means is
The Arabic neighbors is a little bit like.
I want to just qualify for you, the Arabs weren't bad. We made them bad. In very many ways. Because it's not, I mean, this is a different discussion, right? It's not even fair. If you, show an Arab that he can get a state, and you actually create, it's a Jewish invention. You create a two-state solution. What you're doing is making him feel that he has some kind of option and some kind of thing to live for. If we would be very clear about, in the first place, there's no country but our country. This is what it is. Then he'd be a very good guy. He'd be there and living, doing what he does for you, and as it always was. Yeah, but we created this whole thing whereby they're not afraid of us anymore because of us.
Being pacifist.
You disrespect yourself, and you become a pacifist, and you think you're not strong in yourself. That's the whole avodah. The work is to become strong inside you, to strengthen the good parts of you, and then the other parts fall into place. But you have to be very strong in your resolution of who you are. So tzaddik v'toiv loi, he's got it right. Tzaddik v'ra loi, not quite. Uveraya mehemna, that's the Zohar. Parshas Mishpatim Pirush, tzaddik v'ra loi, he spells it out. Shehara sheboy kofuf letoi v'chulu. He's got evil inside him, but the evil, the negative inside you, is subservient to the good. That's a tzaddik v'raloi. We're talking about what goes on the internal battle. Exactly.
But that he has mostly control over.
Right. Now, we are not going to actually learn about tzaddikim, not even tzaddik v'raloi, because a tzaddik, essentially, even though the tzaddik v'raloi does have a challenge going on inside of him, but it's a different kind of a challenge.
So
Meaning,
you think as a tzaddik v'tayv in
Yeah,
this
a
generation?
whole tzaddik eradicating.
I don't know of
evil
tzaddik at all.
inclination?
yeah, I don't know of any tzaddikim. Do you? I mean, I don't know of a tzaddik.
There are the dialect.
Gedolim means what?
Or
That they
worked
have
on humans,
yeshivas
the
and they were.
No. Real gedolim are worked on humans.
I don't think that you. I don't think that you think that they don't have a yitzhar.
No, but it's
No.
maybe they're tzaddik, so you say the same thing.
But they
So
control them.
this tzaddik is one of those people who doesn't have a yitzhar.
And
Now,
that kind of-
what?
and that-
Punched 200 years ago.
And that kind of person
I mean-
would never
we
have
could
I
judge.
like him to
What
know.
we
be
could
literal
judge.
Yeah,
also.
like that, like Tanya number 1. Yeah.
But that would be literal also. That means that if someone was at that place of tzaddik with timeline, and we're saying that means that they
But tzaddik v'raloi also is in that space. You know, it's not only tzaddik, but
that he has control over it. The tzaddik with timeline doesn't even notice the animal self anymore. He's like on a different plane.
exactly. He's conquered it. He's achieved it. He doesn't. That's not part of his sphere.
Does that mean he also everything's good because for him he won't see it anyway?
Correct.
Like
That's like Rav Nachum Chernobyl, right? The story that they.
stories of also what's his name? I don't know. Also what these are.
Rav Nachum Chernobyl, the story is that the guy used to bring him every day breakfast. The Shamish brought him breakfast every day. And one day he brought him breakfast, the same breakfast every day. One day he brings him breakfast and he comes up after, there's a glass of milk there, and he comes running in, Rabbi, I'm so sorry. The milk was not Chalav Yisrael. And he walks in every single day, he bought the exact same food and exactly what he needed, and he finished everything every day. Because it was a small amount, exactly what he needed. That day, the milk was untouched. He's like, Rabbi, how did you know? And the Rabbi said, what? He says, you didn't drink the milk. He says, you didn't bring me milk today.
I didn't even see.
He said, right, Cholav Yisrael is basically, it says, Cholav shechol v'yakum ve'en Yisrael re'ehu. it's milk that was milked by a goy, and a Jew didn't see it. That's what chol vakum means, right? So he played on the word. Cholav shechol vakum, ein Yisrael re'ehu. A Jew doesn't see it. If you're a real Yid, you don't see it.
Is it also
That's-
that? Is it also like the two brothers are real? The one where they sent the port. He said, "You want to see a port? You want to see a happy person?" And you said, "I don't have any. I'll show us a male help."
Right.
And
The Mizrich Magid, the suffering story with the Bzusha Manipoli, where he said, "I don't suffer." Exactly,
Right.
that like that, right?
Right, 'cause
I don't know what it means. I don't
He
suffer.
doesn't even see it because
Right.
he's in that place.
So there is a book of tzaddikim, and we don't have it, nor do we need it, because if you don't have any bad inside you, good luck. Then you don't need this book.
So why are they on this world?
Why are they on this world?
The tzaddikim.
Under the Masech.
Good question. We'll get to chapter 10. They're on this world basically.
I mean, I said I'm just.
You have holy people, and yes, but the goal, what Hashem wants, what Hashem's looking for, is actually the rest of us.
Because we bring the light.
Right. So here's what it goes. The Gemara says, so break down the brachas. The Gemara says, "Tzadikim yetzer toiv sheifton chulu." Tzadikim are judged by one yetzer, the good one, only. Reshayim yetzer hara sheifton. Reshayim, their judge is solely the yetzer hara. That's bad. Beinanim ze vozeh sheifton vechulu. Beinanim are judged by both together. Amar Rabba, so Rabba says, Kegoina no Beinani. Hey, I think I'm a Beinani. And that's a very, very important statement in Tanya. I think Rabba would have said, Kegoina no Tzaddik. Suppose Kegoina no Beinani. You think you're a Beinani? A Beinani? Like one of those guys who's half mitzvahs, half averis? Is that what you think you are? So Abaye looks at Rabba, Amale Abaye, Lo yishavik mar chaye lechol beria v'chulu. You're not leaving life for anyone else, which means you're the Rosh Shiva Pumbedista. You're one of the greatest Amiroim. You're a holy man. And as we'll see in a moment, Rabba, the Malach HaMavos, couldn't get him at all. In other words, Abaye says to him, if you're a Beinani, then you're not leaving anyone else any space to exist. Because if you're a Beinani, everyone else is a Russia. And if they're all Russia, well, Russia's considered dead, right? So it's not fair. What are you saying? Now, what does that mean? You're not leaving life to anybody else. But Rabbi thought he was a Beinani. By the time you learn Tanya, you would say to yourself, as Hasidim would say, Halevaya Beinani. Wish I could be a Beinani. To be a Beinani is one of the greatest virtues you could ever achieve in life. You wish you could achieve the level of Beinani. To understand this thoroughly, also to understand. Masha Amar Eoiv says, quoted in Baba Basra Perik Aleph, Eoiv suffered and struggled. Eoiv wanted to pater the entire world, to exempt the entire world from din, from judgment. So he says to Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalaylam, Barasa tzadikim, barasa reshoim chulu. That's in Eoiv, the pasuk. He says, Hashem, you created tzadikim, and you created reshoim. Essentially, Hashem, it's your fault. You can't find us guilty in any way. It's not our fault, it's your fault. That's Eoiv.
But he's saying that because you created us as human.
You created us tzadikim, you created reshoim.
So
You decide if a person's going to be a tzaddik or a rasha. But you say, what? How does Eoiv say that? Veha, that's the Gemara Baba Basra saying what you just said. Tzaddik ve'rasha lo'ika amar. We know that Akol b'dei Shamayim puts in Yerushalayim. It says that when a child is born at the conception, what happens? The angel comes over and he determines everything it's going to be. He decides for you whether you're going to have money or no money, where you're going to live, who you're going to marry, whether you're going to be married or not. He decides, how successful you're going to be, the color of your skin, the color of your hair, everything. How many kids, all that stuff, all determined. There's only one thing he doesn't determine, and that is whether you're going to be a tzaddik or rasha. So why does Eoiv say, Barasa tzaddikim, barasa rashaim? You get it? Question. You know what the answer is going to be? The answer is very, very, very important. The answer is stop making cookie cutter. We have a very simple cookie cutter. It's basically, I'm going to create a school. You come here, you fit in, and this is the way it is. That's how we operate. You don't fit in? Okay, statistics. We lose a few, it's okay. You'll notice if you have kids, if you have more than one kid, you'll discover right away. Some kids, tatalach. They're just holy. I always look at my kids. It's unbelievable to see. They grew up together. In fact, when they grew up together, that's the problem. But they grew up one next to the other. One turns out to be a Yaakov, and the other one's an Esav. Remember, Esav didn't stand a fighting chance. Because from the womb, he was already kicking for Avodah Zarah. That's not his free choice.
So you're saying, you're saying that Hashem created some people to be, they have the teva.
Temperament is what Hashem created, exactly.
That's what you're saying.
It's not it's not a contradiction.
This kind of temperament and this kind of temperament.
He's not saying that Hashem made you a tzaddik or rasha. You decided you're a tzaddik or rasha. But he made you prone to be a tzaddik or rasha. Oh yes, you have that.
So the struggle is stronger.
Some people, it's just not fair. They just, it's not fair. They just have a struggle and others don't. And the one's like, you're holy and you're not. You know, I remember once a conversation I had with a lady. She was a married lady. And honestly, I spoke to her and I was, many years ago, I was aghast. She was, I hate to put it this way, but she was a lowlife. What she was doing in her marriage was just, it was vile and sickening. And I'm talking to her, and she was very open, very sweet. And then she described to me what she went through growing up, and the trauma of what she went through. And then I got a different perspective. And when I listened to her, I said, you know something? I think Hashem believes in you and appreciates you far more than he does me.
Right? Because otherwise he wouldn't have given those science as a kid.
So you know why? Because me, I don't know what to tell you. I grew up so sheltered, so functional. Everything was like, in my life was picture perfect. Picture perfect. Shalom Bayis was the highest order. Chinuch, everything you wanted was just perfect. And you, Hashem put you through no fault of your own, just where you were born. He put you into an impossible situation. And he made life as hard as he could ever get for you. Does that make me better than you? I am in a position, right, of piety and holiness. And you're not. You're literally a lowlife. Literally. But the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, as we'll see later on, Havei shval ruach bifnei kol adam. Be humble in the pnimius of every person. And that means that you're not so brilliant just because you were born that way.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing virtuous. You weren't given, exactly, of destiny. Yeah, you weren't given it. That's not where your choices began. Right? So what he's going to describe is that Hashem makes people, and some people, just by nature of who they are prone to struggle. And others are just goody-goodies, holy tzaddikim.
So
You're not better.
Is that an emes thing though? That means the Eibusha believes that they have the kayach to overcome.
Exactly. Actually, Hashem, hatovim latais, hatovim lakrav, they say in the army. The guy who goes out in the front lines, or the pilots, right? They're the best. The guy who goes in the front lines and he's actually fighting. Yeah. If you're in the back, what does that mean? You say, I'm in the back, I'm not doing anything.
We are.
But we always know this.
This requires.
You know what I tell my kids? I tell my kids, you are going to be the ones. All those people, they're going to be behind. You're going to be the one walking in the front, greeting Mashiach.
Right.
Sure.
In the Lubavitch Rebbe's words, on Mashiach's army
Yeah.
is,
In the pants and everything.
he says, on Mashiach's army there's a stempel. It says, made in the USA. That was the same idea. But yeah, in other words, see, so why is that? Because we have to learn this idea of DBT, Dira B'Tachtonim therapy. There is a mission to accomplish. It's to bring Hashem into the world. A dira, a home for Hashem in the lowly world. How do we make a home for Hashem in the lowly world? We're going to transform the lowly world and make it godly. And therefore, when you contend with challenges, right, you're bringing Hashem into the world. See, the way we're trained is that you need to get out of this world alive and get Gan Eden. Whatever. Get out of this world into paradise, right? So the goal is to get paradise. Therefore, it stinks if you are more challenged because it's not fair, right? It's harder. It's not fair.
More opportunities.
But when you look at it and you say, no. The goal is to conquer the world and to be on shlichus. So shlichus, the harder it is, the more difficult it is. It's called the hoitzi yokar mizoilel, right? To take the precious out of the vower, to bring it out. So there's negative forces in the world, and you're sent into this world as a shaliach to contend with the evil.
So really,
Who wants to play a computer game if there's no villain?
So the harder it is, the more.
Harder it is, the more special you are. You have to go do the work.
the goal is not to look like a certain thing. The goal is each struggle. So if you started in
Exactly.
a lower place and you have, then even if you get to a
Correct. Make no mistake. The goal is not to look for struggles. Don't look for
no,
struggles.
but if you have them,
It's just that you have them. Exactly.
So
And so that's the bit, right?
Someone who has more
Exactly.
struggles could look like they're less from, let's say, but at the same time,
Correct.
they could have accomplished so much more to get to that place where they're still wearing pants.
Correct.
So
And
we
you
are-
and
are
the
bringing
fact
Hashem way more into
and the
this
fact
world.
that you so
That's how Hashem sees them,
so
he's
two
saying.
people are wearing a skirt. One's wearing one because she was born that way, and the other one had to work very hard through all her struggles to get to the skirt, right? To get to tznius. So now, but are they both the same? No. The one has brought a lokus down into the world more than anybody else. And the principle is going to be later on also from also a very important terminology we're going to use is called iskafia. The Zohar says, Kad iskafia sitra achra, iskafia aleph tov chof, pei yud aleph. When you force down and subdue the Yetzer Hara, the sitra achra, we're going to get to know him very well, the other side, that's the opponent, the enemy. When you subdue him, godliness is revealed. Hold the chiyah shemadcheyu. That's Tanya later on. Every push you push against him, you bring Hashem down into the world. Therefore, it's push today. Another one. Great. And you'll be still in the questions, by the way. We're just skipping to the answers over here. Let's understand what is a beinani. It can't be chetzi that it's half mitzvah, half averas. Why? How could it be the Rabbi made a mistake that he's the beinani when they did le posek from Megirse, right? Rabbi was a man who never stopped learning. And Shafilo Malach HaMavis le yochel ishtetvay. The Malach HaMavis wasn't able to dominate him. The story is in Gemara Baba Metzia Pei Vav. It's a very interesting story. But Rabbi was learning Torah all the time, and the Malach HaMavis couldn't get him because he didn't stop learning Torah for 1 second. Actually, a good beginning of the story. The story is that Rabbi was running away from the priesthood of the Malka. They were chasing him because he was. They didn't like him because he was taking too many people away from work because he made a yarchakala. So nobody was working. So the government decided to get him. They sent the guy to get him. So Rabbi ran away from him. And then Rabbi went into an inn and he was hiding. And the guy who was, the government man who was chasing him, sent to find him, the agent, walked into the inn and he ordered some drinks. And he drank. Now the din is, when you drink odd numbers, I'll get it right or wrong. If you drink an odd number of drinks, then you fall into some kind of illness. So the solution is to have another one, right? So you're supposed to have, no, when you drink an even amount, it's no good, you have to have an odd number. So if you have 4 cups, unless it's a mitzvah, like by the Seder, you get a certain illness. So this guy is there and he drank, a lot of wine, and he drank an even number of cups. So he fell down and he was in a faint. So he was dying. So the innkeeper was panicking because now they're going to blame me, a Jew, that I killed him. So he saw Rabbi and he says, Rabbi, can you help me? But Rabbi's like, but he wants to kill me. I'd much rather he be dead. But what should I do? The innkeeper needs it. So he told him the solution is give him another drink, and then it'll be an odd number, and then he'll be fine. He gave him a drink, whatever. I don't know if it works today, but he gave him a drink, another drink, and he drank it.
Counting when you're drunk.
He gave him another drink, he drank it, and he was good. And then he said, wow, the only guy who could have known the solution to how to solve my illness is the man that I'm chasing. He must be here. So he wants to get Rabbi and kill him. So Rabbi, he like walked through the wall and escaped. And he ran out into the meadow. And he ran over there. And then comes the story that the Malach HaMavis was chasing him. And he made a big noise, the whole place. And he wanted to bring Rabbi. So the Gemara tells that at the same time, there was a machlekes in Shamayim happening. And Shamayim, they were arguing about a baharis, about a little skin disease, right, the saras. So the question is, if there's a hair in the baharis, which comes first, the hair or the baharis? And they were arguing. So Kuchabrichu said Tahar. The Mesivta Derekia, the heavenly Mesivta, said Tame. And they needed a adjudicator who's in a paskin. So they said we have to call Rabbi, because Rabbi is the best place to get it, but he can't be down on earth because then he can't paskin for heaven, so we've got to bring him up. But we can't bring him up because then he's going to be up, so we have to, on the way up. So Rabbi was over there, and Rabbi hears the Malchamadus was moving away, the forest, the rusting of the trees, and he said, they're coming to get me. They won't be able to kill me because I'm learning Torah, so they can't stop me learning Torah, but they'll be able to torture me, and I don't want to be tortured, so Rabbi made a decision to stop learning Torah. As soon as he stopped learning Torah, the Malchamadus got him, and he died. And as his soul went up, Rabbi said the words, Tahor, Tahor. He paskened like Kuchabrichu. That's the story. So now over here in Tanya, he's quoting one part of that story. And he's saying, so this is Rabbi, who he was pretty impressive, and he was learning Torah, and the Malach HaMavis couldn't get him because he was not stopping to learn Torah. And he said, I'm a Beinani.
We have problems here.
So that's what Abaye was saying.
So Abaye says to him, how could you say that? I said, it doesn't make sense. He didn't stop learning Torah. The Eichoy Yochalit is a Mechza Abaynas Chas V'Shalom.
I like what he said.
Huh?
I'm going back to what he said. I never heard a tzaddik say that.
I'm a Beinani.
That
Right.
he preferred death over torture. I kept saying that all along. That
Yeah, that's a side point.
Die than go through this torture. So
Right. Hashem, thank God Hashem makes decisions, not you. So, how could it be that a Beinani is half mitzvahs, half averis, if that's what it is? The oid, sharei b'shor she'ise averis, if you do averis, nikra rasha gamur. When you do averis, what are you called? A rasha. Let me give you a mashal, right? If you think a Beinani is chetzi chetzi, half mitzvahs, half averis, tell me, what would a man be if he's married and he is committed to his marriage and it's good, but he's married for 40 years, and for 1 second of those 40 years, 1 minute, he does something he shouldn't do. So he says 39.999 years, right? 99.999% of the time I'm good. 0.1%, I compromised. So now I'm finished. How about a Gabbai Tzedakah, who is an honest Gabbai Tzedakah for 99.99% of the year? There's only one time a year for 30 seconds where he steals. That's it. So what is he? A Ganav. Right? So why is it different to a Jew? If a Jew does an Aveira, he's a Rasha. What's with this 51%, 49%? There is no time when you're right, when you're a maybe this or not.
When he
Sharei,
does the mitzvah, then he's like.
B'shah shoyse avoinos, nika Rasha Gomur.
Right, and when he does the mitzvah.
Nika Tzadik Gomer. That's why if a guy is Mekadesh a woman and he says I'm Mekadesh Gomer Nashani Tzadik Gomer, but he's a Rasha Gomer, what's it in? It's a shayla. She's Safek Mekudeshes. Why? Because maybe he decided to do tshuva at that moment, and if he did, then he's a tzaddik. He'll do tshuva in a second. So there's no possibility of being a Beinani. You're either a tzaddik or you're a Rasha, right? It makes sense.
In that moment.
Even if you just transgressed a small, little, minor infraction of rabbinic prohibition, you're still called a Rasha. You want to know how to become a Rasha? It goes even further. If someone else next to you is doing an Aveira and you didn't protest the Aveira, you're also called a Rasha. How much more so? If you actually didn't do the asay. You were able to do you were able to learn Torah, you didn't learn Torah. That knocks most guys out. Guys, I'm doing everything right. Okay, you know I'm doing wrong? The one, I'm not learning Torah all day long. If he's not doing anything wrong, he's a tzaddik in everything. But there's only one thing he's doing wrong. Bittul Torah. What's the Bittul Torah story? He has disgraced the word of Hashem. He kares the gomer, he kares the gomer. He gets kares. Ouch. So how do you become a Rasha? Nothing. Don't do anything. You become a Rasha. Right? If you do an Aveira, you zicha a Rasha. Even if they're abundant, you're a Rasha. Even if you don't do an Aveira, someone else does Aveira, you just didn't protest, you're a Rasha. And if you don't learn Torah, you're a Rasha. So what chance do I even stand? Pshita the mikri Rasha tfei me'ever is the Rabbanan. This is the problem with being judgmental. Bit of an issue, because you're judging someone else. You're assuming that you're good. But you're also a Rasha. I mean, unless you're learning Torah all day long and not mevatel any second of Torah, then you're fine. V'im kein al korchach, here it is, ha-beinani ein bo yafilu avoin bitul Torah. The Beinani didn't even transgress bitul Torah, and that explains, umishu mochi, this is why, to'or rabba be'atzma le'mashu Beinani. That's why Rabbi thought he was a Beinani. Why did Rabbi think he was a Beinani? Because a Beinani is someone who doesn't transgress any Aveira whatsoever. Not even the Aveira of Bittul Torah. That's why Rabbi, who was, right? Didn't transgress Bittul Torah, thought he was a Beinani. So what's a Rasha?
No, go back.
What's a tzaddik?
Yeah, what's a tzaddik for Rabbi?
So very important. The answer is basically Hashem wants us to do mitzvahs and not to do aveiros. That's true. But as Iyov points out, Hashem creates tzaddikim and creates Rishayim. What that means is, what challenges you're going to have in life is not determined by you. That's determined by Hashem and only Hashem. So if you have a challenge, you're not bad. If you act on it, that's the problem. Esav was not a bad guy. As the Rambam in Shemona Prakim says, there's an Adam HaSholem and a Koivish Yitzrei. One person is made perfect, the other one is designed to contend and conquer his Yetzer Hara, constantly fighting war and struggle, and it's so hard. So the definition of a tzaddik is someone who doesn't have bad. What's tzaddik v'raloi? That the bad, there's still some measure of it inside you. Now, you'll see it yourself, right? I imagine that most people over here do not have any kind of taiva to, let me guess, Mechal Shabbos. Do you? Do you sometimes, on a normal thing, like do you ever have a taiva to walk into a car on Shabbos and drive? Doesn't feature, for the most part. I mean, you probably do have someone deep inside, but it's not something you contend with. It isn't one of the challenges that you deal with on a regular day-to-day basis. It's kind of like you've conquered that one, right? I mean, you haven't really.
Never really conquered it.
Right.
You fought it.
That's like tzaddik v'toivloi, tzaddik v'raloi.
Put you back into a situation.
You see how I've conquered that, but I do know that it's possible I'd be in a position that I maybe get there. How about murder? You have any taiva to murder?
We've never conquered that either.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
We've never stood in front of somebody and decided not to kill them.
Is it impossible for you to be?
That's actually not true.
Right? Maybe.
Okay.
That's actually not true.
So do you see how?
Hashem strike him. Yeah.
Right, but how about indulging too much in things that are permissible, like food?
Binding.
You wish a baby.
I mean, you talking about not kosher or you talking about not healthy?
Regular.
Whatever it is. Again, here's the point. Tzaddik, Beinani, Rasha. There are two levels over there. Tzaddik and Rasha. A tzaddik doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. Tzaddik v'raloi is how much have you overcome.
Doesn't have
A
it.
tzaddik doesn't.
have it anymore.
Well, later on in this chapter, he'll say that a tzaddik is. It's possible that he's libi cholol b'kirbi. David HaMelech says, "I have a hollow in my heart. There's nothing bad there." That's what David HaMelech says. He sinned with Bathsheba, and then he's like, "It doesn't make sense because I don't have a Yetzer Hara. It doesn't exist. So what does that mean? How does this happen?" He couldn't understand how this came about, right? That's where the question came about from. And there's a tzaddik who doesn't have any connection to the Ra at all. Then you have a Russia. And the Russia is intimately familiar with the bad. If the Russia successfully wins and overcomes the evil forces in his life, what does he become? A Bainani. Now,
Minute,
what?
for that minute.
You could be a partial Bainani, or you could be a full Bainani. It's possible. Bainani, as we'll see, controls thought, speech, and action. Does not control emotions and intellect. So he doesn't control the source of it, but he controls the actual activating force of it. He controls the thought, speech, and action.
But not the emotion.
He can't decide whether he's going to feel something.
But you're feeling based on your thoughts. But he's controlling his thoughts.
What you need to learn is the psyche of who you are. And the psyche basically begins inside you.
Not emotion.
Right? There's emotions and intellect inside you. So he'll walk in the street and he'll see something and he'll have a taiva for it. Taiva is there. In order to do something now, you have to actually activate the taiva and think about it. He will stop himself from thinking about it. Certainly not speaking or acting. If you're able to do that fully, Bainani. Hence, Rabbah didn't know, am I tzaddik or Bainani? Like, you'll see there's a whole discussion there on about it. Like, how, have I really conquered the bad? Like, I don't even know the bad. I don't see the bad at all. So I'm not sure if, like you say, am I in B'chal Shabbos? I'm not B'chal Shabbos ever, but I don't even think about it, but I could. So I don't know if I'm a Bainani or a tzaddik in that. Right? So Rabbah in his whole life, am I a tzaddik or Bainani? I don't know. Right? That's why he said, maybe I'm a Bainani. Now, once you get this, it's going to allow you to look at people in a whole new light. And that's the point here. Every one of us has internal battles and struggles. Those internal battles, we must discover how special they are. It's special to be a warrior and to fight. It's awesome. And the only label that's important is, how much of a struggle do you have? Do you succumb or not? You control your thought, speech, action. That's it. That's going to be in chapter 3 and 4. You do not control your actual inside. Right? And once you understand that, you're poised for the fight. And you're able to work yourself and you understand your life.